Hello, everyone. It's Jayden for Student Pages. Hope you're all doing well once again. Today we are here with Darren Kieley. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm great, thanks. So you are a Irish singer-songwriter.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yep.
Wanna
And
be
you've just released a brand new single as well with a music video. So tell us, how's that been? How's the experience of rolling that out been for you?
very fun. Like I think there's there's obviously like a load of nerves and all that kind of stuff with new releases, but it always feels very exciting because you never know what's going to happen in the best way possible and the worst way possible. But that's a cool way to be living, and I mean, I would release as often as I could, so it's nice. Yeah, it's a really nice feeling to get more music out there.
Yeah, amazing. So if you just give the people at home a bit of a rundown as to how you've got into music, that kind of thing, and how you've got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I just kind of grew up kind of normally in Ireland. Did school, kind of picked up. I was playing a bit of Irish music growing up. Picked up guitar when I was like 16. Just kind of started playing along to songs I loved, and then went to college and figured out that really wasn't for me. So I started playing a bit more music. Started trying to play in pubs and stuff and write music, and then I was kind of trying to see if I could record my music, get better at songwriting, and then eventually could have started releasing music and putting on my own shows rather than playing cover songs. And that's kind of how I'm here. So it's all that kind of guitar writing song stuff has kind of happened in the last maybe 5 years really, where I've been really going for it.
No, awesome. So your new song, Wait, how would you say that song specifically has developed you as an artist? Like how did you get to the point of making that one? Because it's sort of it starts out a very slow song, right? But then it sort of builds slightly, but you've always sort of got the same rhythm there. So like how did that one come about?
I think it's a song I've wanted to write for a long time. I think a lot of the music I've released before now has been more hopeful and more like kind of you can get through this, or even if it was a more negative topic, it was a bit more probably tinged with hope. This one was kind of, I really wanted to represent what, for me, like an escalation of thinking negatively about yourself can look like in a song. And this just felt right. This kind of rhythm of a song, the way it's kind of structured, just felt like that's how I could best represent it. So that's kind of how the song came about, really.
Yeah, I mean, ironic for a song called Wait, really, but it does feel very heavy, it sort of does have that. Again, I wouldn't use the word drab, but it's sort of it does feel very sad. You know what I mean? And I think that's all right. Like you say, it's like some songs definitely work with that, I think.
Yeah, and a part of me battled with that. It was like, should it get like a bit nicer and brighter at the end? But I don't know. I haven't done that before, and I think that had the most impact when I was trying to write it and record it and stuff. I feel like staying true to that kind of nature of you know escalating it in a negative way felt right for whatever reason.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, totally. I get that. So you are actually touring, aren't you, between February and March, if I'm right? So
Yeah,
what sort of venues are you going to be playing at? And, on a more basic level, are you excited? It's a really awesome thing to be doing.
yeah. We're actually here in Amsterdam right now, so we're playing a show here tonight, which will be fun, and then we play in London tomorrow night. So we have to kind of travel
Wow.
through the night, and yeah, that'll be fun though. It's mad to think. It's mad to think we'll be in London like this time tomorrow. That's kind of
Yeah, that is baffling. What, Amsterdam straight to London? God, you're going to be jet lagged.
yeah. So we're gonna travel. We'll travel by bus, get the ferry, and we'll have to get up for passport control, all that stuff at like 6 in the morning, and then work our way up to London. But it's gonna be fun. I mean, all of it's so new. It feels like I've done a few tours now, but it still feels like everything is new. And I was actually talking about this with someone the last day. It's like when you go walk in some place you've never been before, you can kind of do it for 3 or 4 hours, but if you know where you're walking, you're well, I wouldn't go for that long. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what touring feels like a little bit. I think it constant like excitement and a bit of like curiosity mixed together. So yeah, we're in Amsterdam now, into London, work our way up through the UK, and then finish off in Ireland in March,
Wow.
which will be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Long time as well. It's like that's pretty much a month full of that's crazy.
Yeah, we're 2 weeks in now, so we started in Copenhagen this time 2 weeks ago. So it's but it's flown like nuts. I honestly,
Oh
only
yeah,
from
I've
knowing.
never heard any bad words about performing live. Everyone seems to love it.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anyone really who doesn't. I was worried. I mean, when I started out touring, it was just me and an acoustic guitar. I wasn't, I didn't have a band or anything. It was pretty, low key in a car and whatever.
Yeah.
I was worried. I was like, what if I don't like playing live? Like, I knew I liked playing the odd show here and there, but what if, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it is just like unenjoyable? Like, where does that leave me? So I'm really glad that I do actually enjoy it, because it would have been a disaster if I hadn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you can't put on a good show if you're not wanting to be there yourself, you know what I mean?
Just, like, that's kind of why like what made me fall in love with music was live music anyway. So I mean, I love writing and recording and stuff, but you kind of have to want to do all of them, really. So yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad.
Ah, amazing. So the people in your life, obviously, I'm assuming you've got family and friends around you and stuff. How would you say they have helped you get to where you are now? Like, have they been helpful? Were they maybe a bit not sure that this was the right way for you? How's it been?
I think initially I think it's been arranged like all the time. I think, some people were more like, I think, worried. I was kind of doing college and heading towards like a pretty like regular, stable life of like 9 to 5, and just kind of, that's like a really safe way of living, kind of, I think, which is great, I think, for whoever wants that. And I think, as friends and family, you're going to want whoever you love to be kind of safe, and that kind of comes into it. And I think some people from the very start were like, yeah, go for it, do whatever you want to do. And that's just, I think, different personalities, isn't it? I think the more I've gone through it now, and I'm able to go and play shows in different places, and there's releases coming out, and there's people who I don't know listening to the music, and there's people showing up for shows and stuff. I think it gets easier for everyone to be like, fair play, and we're really behind it. I think that it's really understandable, why
No,
people
yeah.
wouldn't have been sure of it at the start. And I think maybe only I knew in my own head where I wanted to go with it, or kind of, I had a very clear, not that I knew exactly each step, but I had a very clear idea that I was going to, follow this through to the very end. And it's hard for other people to see into your mind and believe that too. So yeah, it's been arranged, but I think mostly people are just happy to see you doing something you want to do, which is a really nice feeling to feel off people.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. Especially when it's people close to you as well. You know, you're gonna want that sort of support. But I do see what you're saying, and it's one of those things where I think unless you're in the position that you were in, or you're actually in that person's shoes, it is sometimes kind of hard to actually view it from their perspective. But no, I'm glad you've had people around you that have been able to relate and sort of say, this is actually, if this is something you're sure in, if this is something you're good at, go for it.
Yeah, and it's huge, because I mean, I think there's so many times you like doubt will creep in whatever way, and it's totally illogical at times. Sometimes maybe it is logical, and you're trying to look out for yourself, because it's a totally unknown type of world. It's not like anything else, really. It's its own thing. But that's huge. It's huge to be able to have consistent sounding soundboards, and people that are like, and you're feeling a certain way about it, and you can just get there kind of more objectivity than subjectivity, which is nice sometimes, because when you're so much in it and you care so much for something, it can be hard to see the forest for the trees, really, when you begin to doubt yourself.
No, yeah, definitely. So, sort of on a similar note, then, like, have you had any bad instances of, really harsh criticism or any, for a wider word, bullying, I guess, toward what you do? Have you had any big critics or anything like that, or has it been pretty positive?
I don't think so. I don't think anything's been. I don't think I've been well known enough to warrant what, like, haters and stuff. Maybe, I mean, maybe some comments online sometimes aren't that nice.
You always get clowns
You
on
know,
YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'm like, really? I mean, maybe if I had it on a larger scale, it would bother me. Maybe, I don't know, and I do feel for people when their online stuff gets really, begins to become a bit just harsh. But it doesn't. I don't interact with it, I think, which is like, sometimes you're like, oh God, what will I say? And I think just the best thing is just not saying anything, really. And
Smartest move.
also, I can understand, like, there's loads of great music that I am personally a fan of. I don't voice that. I don't like, take the comments and stuff. But I can understand why people wouldn't like my music either, So I'm not, if whatever's going on in their life, they feel like they need to get it off their chest. It hasn't bothered me yet. I'm not welcoming it, but it hasn't bothered me yet, I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sort of just putting a flyer out there now saying, it's like, I'm not any bullies yet. If you want to come and do it, come my way.
Yeah, No, I don't think I'm that tough. But yeah, and I've seen some people get some, some reviews, and magazines will do a review of a show, and like I think that would be the worst thing if someone went to a show and just said it was it's really not good live, and that I think that would really affect me. But the odd comments here and there, yeah, not yet anyway.
No, that's great. No, it's good to hear. Following a similar sort of pattern here, it's like, so you mentioned that the song was based on some of your own personal experiences of like, struggle and things like that. Was there any sort of, if you're all right sharing, if there was any sort of specific event in your life or any sort of anything you went through that inspired this song? It's like, how did that manifest itself into what the same song became?
I think a bit of it was really, yeah, my own struggles. I think when I initially had given up college and stuff and was doing music, like I wasn't in the best place, and I feel like I could see that in other people's faces. There was the worry about, what am I going to do career wise, but also the worry for like how was I, and seeing that made made it worse, and feeling like a burden was just such a cyclical thing. It made me feel worse, which in turn worried probably people more, and which it didn't feel like ending. So it's drawn on a lot of those experiences really, but those feelings can come and go. Not as intense as probably what I would have felt it a few years ago, but at certain times I definitely catch myself feeling responsible for others not being in as happy as they could be because of however I am, which sometimes is totally illogical. Sometimes maybe it does come into it a little bit, but it was something I hadn't really written about directly, and something I think about a lot, is my impact on others positively or negatively. So yeah, a few different personal experiences.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because music is one of those outlets for people, isn't it? Where sometimes you can express things better in a song than you can just, speaking regularly. And I think, again, having listened to the song, you totally get that through. You know what I mean? It's like you do feel you feel the struggle, you feel the emotion, you feel, again, the weight, and I think, having that ability to portray that via a song is an incredible talent. It's a brilliant feat, frankly. So, social media as well. So we do always try and make a point of asking, it's like, to what degree would you say your social media has played a part in where you are? Like, do you utilize it much? Do you sort of use it for your brand to promote your songs? How does it play a part for you?
It's been a huge part. I think when I first started releasing music, it's kind of at the end of summer 2023. And the first song, I was very much like, will I release it? Won't I release it? I had planned on releasing something for almost 2 years at that point, and I was just so nervous of it not going well, I think. And I didn't really put a lot on social media. I just kind of let it, go out. And like I did the same, a bit of the same with the second release, but I started to put up those songs a bit more on TikTok and stuff. And around those times I would play gigs. I was living in New York at the time, and I would try put on my own, a gig where I play my own music, which initially no one other than my friends came down to. There was like 13 people at a good few of them. But the first time a song kind of caught on it was on TikTok originally, where a video would have got a few 100,000 views. I put on a show around that release. It was my third release, and then there was people down at that gig that were, I had no idea who they were, and they knew the song, and people were singing along to that song. And that was I was kind of afraid of putting stuff on social media, and still there's like that fear that you can just be that social media artist. But when I saw it translating to people listening to stuff on Spotify and actually coming down to shows, it was like it was the only way really for me to find people I didn't know, and it was like the greatest gift. Because had it been 10 years ago, I don't know how I would have honestly broken into the music industry. It would have been very different. You're kind of more hoping to get discovered, or find the right whatever it is. Whereas now you've got your phone in front of you, and it seems like every post is a chance to find new people, or kind of change your life a little bit.
No, definitely. Yeah, it's funny because we've spoken to a lot of people recently who have brought up TikTok. Because again, with TikTok, it's one of those things where your song gets like not necessarily even big, but it's like your song gets used in like a viral video or something. That's it. It's like streams are through the charts. And I get what you're saying about the fear of sort of being known as that person, but there has been a lot of artists I think who have started out with one big song on TikTok and then it's just gone up from there. So yeah, I totally get what you mean as far as any publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean? No matter where you source it from.
Yeah, and then there's yeah, that's it's just an interesting thing, but I'm definitely it's so important. But I like we're going on these long tours because I just want to try and play everywhere, and I want to try, and I still don't feel like the playing live and supporting bands or being out there in front of people live. I still feel passionate that that's a way of building a career too, and that's the coolest way of doing it for me. But also feels like the most connected, and that's something I've definitely been. As soon as I could play shows or go on tours, it was something I tried to spend as much time as I felt was possible slash made sense. I think doing that. So yeah, it's a good. It's such a good social media is such a good opportunity. I think for anyone, it just gets rid of gatekeepers and hard to. As much as it can be tedious, and there's so many sides to it. I don't like influencing or like, this is what I'm up to today. I'm not big. That's just not really.
Yeah.
That's just not me. Some people are much better at it, but I definitely think to get your music heard, it gives everyone a chance, which is a nice thing to know is there.
No, absolutely. Yeah, totally with you on that. So, regarding like the wider music industry, do you sort of have any connections there? Like, do you know other artists? And if you do, how important would you say it is to know other people who are doing the same thing you are?
I know a few. I think it is handy sometimes because they're the only people you can talk to with the artist experience. Like I'm very lucky. I have some great band members and team members that you can always talk to, and they're really great. But the only thing they can't give their kind of 2 cents on is actually what it feels like to be an artist and to be the one kind of like whatever it is that the CEO of the company or what you know what I mean. Like it's
They're in that position. Yeah.
yeah, and it's been handy. I have a few friends that are artists that just to get there, they mightn't even say anything groundbreaking, or it's just that relatability, that connection can be really important because it at times it is lonely. It is you on your own, even though there's team members around, but it can feel lonely. And so that's been important, and yeah, just it's been fun to see what other people's experiences are like too. I mean, no two paths have been remotely similar. Like to some of my other friends, it's just kind of a wild experience. Definitely handy, and I definitely value those friendships an awful lot.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's wonderful because again, like you sort of touched on there, it must be a very personal experience when because let's face it, musicians aren't all over these days. You know what I mean? It's like, so when you do actually make that connection, and it's like, oh, we can sort of relate on this, even though you've probably got completely different stories. Yeah, it must be a really nice thing to sort of be able to say, it's like, oh, so I'm not the only one struggling with this, and I'm not the only one doing well here. It's like there must be a lot of. I mean, you must have like conversations sort of saying, oh, I've had this happen this week. And it's like, oh, that's funny because I've had this happen. It's sort of completely the opposite issues.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just, yeah, talking to people who live those experiences and those things is, yeah, there's a comfort in knowing that it's not just you. As not that I wish anyone else to be going through some of the stuff as well, but like,
Well,
that
we
sounds
all do.
terrible.
We all do. You know what
Yeah,
I
it's like
mean?
I'm glad you're struggling because I am too. But you know what I mean? Yeah, it's invaluable really, and I've been very lucky in some of the people I've met.
No, that's great. So, for students who are wanting to do what you do, sort of go into the music industry, what advice would you give them? Because we get some interesting answers here usually, because again, all musicians have such a different experience that they all say
Mm.
something totally different. Although it usually goes along the lines of, you know, don't focus too much on getting a label. So, would you agree with that, or have you got sort of more, you know, I don't know, more specific advice, I guess?
No, I 100% wouldn't focus on what this person can do for you or that person or those kind of things. I feel like that's a thing that was there before. If you get discovered by this person, that'll help. But I feel now the way you can move forward in music is a lot of it is online. I think if you can write songs and you have stuff you love, like put it up online, try get it recorded. That's how you're going to provide value. And then if you're looking for other people to do things initially, they're going to have probably all the leverage, and unless you have some value, or unless you've something going on. And I would just try to play live as much as possible if that's your thing. I know not everyone trying to do music is trying to play live. I get that, but I think for the people who are, you know play tons of gigs. Like I played loads in pubs and I still wasn't ready for playing my own music somewhere. And then I'm still not. I'm still like, I could do it hundreds more gigs before I feel comfortable probably. But I feel like playing live has made me write way more songs than, you know, sitting around at home and keep chasing what you love. I mean, that's just like life in general, isn't it? Like if you
Yeah,
love the music or you're passionate about it, keep doing that. But I think you've a lot more value to give and power over the music industry than placing it on other people and what they'll do for you.
no, I feel like I picked up on something there. Have you got like a bit of imposter syndrome, do you think, maybe? Like sort of still sort of going out there to these really big venues and thinking, God, I'm playing my own music and people are here to see me. Is that still not a bit mind blowing for you, or?
Oh yeah, like uh, every day, every gig is like that. To be honest, not out of a way of like it's just very hard for it to sink in. Like a lot of you spend a lot of time looking at numbers on screens of people listening and stuff, and that just makes no sense. And then you see people in front of you, and you just like I don't know how the sequence of events for that to happen, for someone to buy a ticket and go to a show. Just I can't comprehend that happening, or the music having a life outside of like what I think about in my own head. Imposter syndrome, maybe is that part of it? Is that connected? Maybe. I try not to think about it too much, but I definitely can't believe like we're going to play in 2 or 3 hours here in Amsterdam to I don't know, is it 500 or 600 people, and that's nuts.
That is
That's
crazy. Huge numbers.
try not to think about it while I'm on stage. There's times where it has like completely caught me, and I'm like a bit speechless. So I don't probably don't talk as much on the mic as I should, but I'm just like I'll just start mumbling. But yeah, I don't want that feeling to go away either. Like it feels fragile. It feels like it's happened quick-ish, and I don't want it to go away. So there's definitely
Plus,
that feeling
I'd,
associated with it.
I'd argue as well, it's a very human reaction as well. I think sort of having that layer to you sort of gives you, it keeps you humble, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like for as long as you can sort of see yourself as yourself, you know what I mean? It's like I think that sort of keeps you
Mm.
grounded, and frankly, it's probably why people will end up being more drawn to you.
Yeah, I don't know what people honestly see when I go out there, or I just maybe I should ask people that question. It's like why are you here? It's just you can't really do that, can you? I think I've genuinely just tried to focus on releasing stuff that I really 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 love, and hopefully I won't have to be in a few years time going, well, why did they come to the gigs before, and why are they not going to the gigs now? Hopefully that'll just carry me through.
So again, what would you say has sort of been like looking at all of it, looking through your entire path from start to end? What would you say has been the biggest challenge so far? Like, what has really has there been anything that's really hit you throughout this whole thing?
That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge has definitely just been in my own head, really, about believing in that I could do it. I think that's been something that's been very up and down at different stages depending on what's kind of going on. And sometimes there's loads of momentum and loads is happening, and some weeks are quieter, and to remain consistent in that has been the biggest challenge for sure. Because I know before, when I worked a full-time job and I was playing in pubs and trying to release music, you're just so committed to getting out of that place that you don't have a second to doubt it. It's so busy, you don't have a second to doubt it. I think when there's moments of lulls, even before shows, sometimes there's a bit more time to think.
Right, you've got the live tonight, you've got the live tomorrow, you're all over at the minute, you've got a lot of touring to be getting on with, but are you working on anything else right now that you want to plug, or anything else coming up soon?
We have touring until kind of mid-May. That finish is up in America in mid-May, but all the time I have some music that's already recorded that will be coming out soon-ish, and hopefully there's tons of releases this year. That's kind of it. Nothing to plug directly, but there'll be new music pretty soon, which is always exciting. We'll get to play some of the music the day it's released, which is fun back at home, and yeah, that's kind of it. Stay tuned. Yeah, I don't think there's anything overly excited other than new music, which for me is very exciting. But I guess it
Ah,
depends
that
on the
is.
listener.
I
Yeah,
mean, as a musician, you kind of hope that you have new music coming out. You know what I mean? It's probably one of the key things people are going to want.
yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
Well, Right, so thank you ever so much, Darren. It's been brilliant talking.
Class, thanks a million. Appreciate your time.